Welcome to tonight's session at Pybus University on how to select and work with an attorney. The only reason I can imagine you all are here is you have some interest in finding an attorney at some stage, either currently, in the near future. Now, given the class size tonight, I'd like this to be as informal and relaxed as possible. So if you don't mind, I'm going to get comfortable. I find that when people want to talk to an attorney, they sometimes feel a little intimidated by it. I don't want that to happen. This, in reality, is your session. I'm here to try to provide you with information that's of some interest, some value to you. I like an interactive session. So if you have questions, please let me know. Because we're being filmed, I've been asked to repeat the questions as we go along. So our audience, film audience, can hear the same thing that you've asked me. I'm going to be delving into a variety of areas. I really do encourage you to ask a question as we go along. So here we go. Each of you has a handout. Please take notes as you want, and everything will be up on the screen that's in your handout. So I'm going to start with the premise of, and these are my beliefs, how do you find the right attorney? Okay, as a background, before I went to the dark side and became an attorney, I was in human resource management for about 14 years. I went to law school when I was 38, graduated when I was 41, and came to Wenatchee here in 1988. And Kay and I have been here ever since. So I have some experience on the practical side working with attorneys, and then experience with clients and trying to find out what interests them. So some of the clues that I'm going to give you in that process, some of the things that when I was an HR manager that I liked and enjoyed with an attorney. Welcome, folks. You want something to write with? These are just, in some instances, common sense. In some cases, the steps that people don't think about or don't do. Take your time. Unless you have a criminal issue and you've been charged with some type of crime, you typically are in no rush for an attorney. So it often is time well spent to research attorneys a little bit. And I hope in this session to talk to you about tools of how you can do that. And we've got a lot available with technology right now. Things I would encourage you to look for. A good community reputation, or a good reputation within a specialty. Estate planning, real estate, the types of interests that you might have or you think you have a legal need. Excellent question. These folks have gone on the web, where we all go nowadays, to find information, and they get the standard advertising that most attorney firms do, and it says, here are our practice areas. That's a start. Some of those ads will say, we only do criminal work. Well, if they don't say real estate, you're not interested. So once you find real estate, then you're going to be looking at some of the other tools I'm going to be sharing with you tonight. So, and you can get this, and I'll skip ahead in a minute, but good reputation, and one of the things you want with an attorney is good ethics. We are all regulated by the State Bar Association, and every individual in the state of Washington can go on the State Bar Association and find out if we've had any bar complaints made against us during our working career. It's a step everybody should do. It's like looking for a doctor and finding out if they've been charged with malpractice. We have those standards. The other thing is, I will encourage you when you're looking for an attorney, find somebody, my term is, that you can connect with, that has a bedside manner that you're comfortable with. We've all had doctors in our lifetimes. We've had doctors we like, and we've had doctors we don't care so much for. But when you think about the doctors you liked, I would suggest that one of the things that you found with them is you connected. But even though you connect with a doctor or an attorney, remember this is a business relationship. You're not hiring an attorney to be your friend. You're looking for somebody who's professional and who's going to do you a good job. 2 caveats. Don't hire based on advertising. Whether it's in the phone book, whether it's on TV, or whether it's on the internet. Advertising is written by people who look at markets, look at what it catches a people's eye. It tells you nothing about the individual qualities, experience, or reputation. Now, some attorney websites will drill down and give you some general background. They'll tell you what college they graduated from, when they graduated, some of the cases they might have won, some of the articles they might have written. And that, again, is a filter. Is that of interest? Does that intrigue you? Then that is one thing to look at. But I would encourage you not to make your decision based on advertising itself. So if you're not going to do it on advertising, what are you going to do? Talk to your neighbors. Talk to your friends. Maybe they haven't hired an attorney, but they've heard of somebody. And I will tell you that if a name or a series of names keeps coming up time and again, there's a reason for it. There's a reason. Either it's good, they have a good, solid reputation, or there's been a reason for it because people have had bad experiences. So talk to your friends and relatives. If you have business associates, either in your former life, current life, talk to people in the business. Find out who's known. You can go to the Chamber of Commerce. You can go to local business associations. If you're doing real estate, talk to title companies. Who do they work with? Who are the attorneys that they have good experience with? If you're working on wills and probates, talk to somebody in the financial investment, wealth management, insurance areas, people who deal with life-ending experiences or planning for life-ending experiences. The question was, would the Better Business Bureau be a reference? I will tell you, in some cases, when it actually doesn't have a very active Better Business Bureau. So if you go on the web and you look for that, you're going to get a Better Business Bureau out of another community that gets some ratings from the Wenatchee area. So you want to be a little bit selective there. You may get somebody that got very poor ratings, and that will help you screen and filter out, but I wouldn't rely on that exclusively. The internet. It's the big search tool for all of us. You know, you can use all sorts of search engines. You can Google, you can do whatever else to put names in. And you can check specific websites that are major websites to help you search for an attorney. And I put one down here that you can look at. And you'll want to look at state specialties because we're all licensed in a particular state. Some of us are licensed in multiple states. And you'll want to look at specialties. You're not looking for, if you have a real estate deal or an estate deal, you're not looking for somebody who does criminal work, DUIs, and the like. You're going to look for somebody who has that specialty. And generally, and watch that, watch the language, generally, somebody who has more experience is going to know more of the nuances. So the ones with the whiter and grayer hair, been a while around a little longer, might have a little more depth. The younger, up and coming, very well educated, May not have the same depth, but they may be more cost effective for what you need and still give you a quality product. I gave you the Bar Association website if you want to check for disciplinary actions. So here are just a couple of the more common search for attorney websites that you could use as a resource. Then, specialties. I want to break it down into two major specialties for now. The first is civil. The second is criminal. So if it's not criminal, it falls in civil. Now, under civil, there are again two major divisions. Is it working out something, putting together a contract on the sale of a home, on a piece of real estate? Is it putting together estate planning documents, or is it litigation? Got a boundary dispute. This homeowner is on my property and he won't get off. Do I have to take him to court? That's called litigation. And so you may need to look at somebody who does just civil or litigation. Give you an example. My area of practice is employment law. And I do primarily just give preventative advice. But I'm in a law firm. Law firm here locally is Ogden Murphy Wallace. We are a branch of a Seattle office, and collectively we have almost every specialty somebody might need except criminal. We don't do it. And we don't do securities or patent work. But beyond that, we can find you somebody who does the right kind of work. So types of areas: domestic relations, messy stuff, divorces, breakups, parenting plans. So is that the type of specialty you're looking for? Real estate, business. Are you trying to put a business together? Estate planning. Not only might you need a will, but you might need things that are called a healthcare directive, a power of attorney, living wills. Those are all parts of a more comprehensive estate planning process. And a lot of it depends on the size of your assets. What is the value of your estate? Younger folks, growing folks tend to have a much smaller need. Those of us who've been around a while, have grown some assets, might have some things to protect. We might have a large, more sophisticated need. Criminal, if you've got a criminal issue, I can give you references, but I can't talk to you much about it. One of the things I did as a baby lawyer, I was a prosecutor, so I got to learn that side of it from the prosecution side, but I've never had to defend anybody who's been charged with anything. Okay, the question is litigation always civil litigation? Now I have to give you one of the more standard lawyer answers. It depends. And what does it depend on? So the answer is mostly yes. Because if you've got a dispute that you want to take somebody to court, whether it's an individual, a business, a public entity, the state of Washington, DSHS, the city, the county, the sewer district, you pick it, and you have to go to court. Going to court really is what we call litigation. Now, why I say it depends is criminal is a form of litigation because you're protecting somebody who's been charged with a crime. You're in court. You're litigating. But I just really want to break a distinction between civil and criminal. Okay, what are the next steps? Now, these steps are not for everybody. So just because I have it up here and you're here tonight, or you might be in our TV audience, there might be other steps that you'd want to take. But one of the things I'd have you keep in mind, no matter who you talk to, is find somebody you're comfortable with. You like their bedside manner. They listen to you. They're engaged with you. It might be important to you that they take notes. Whatever it is that's important to you, it's a two-way process. We have clients come into us all the time we know nothing about, and they've got a problem or an issue. What we want from you as a client is to get to the point. You've got to give us some background, we know that. But a lot of people come in to vent. We're angry at somebody, and we want to tell you the whole story about it. Well, our eyes glass over because it's not relevant to how to help solve or deal with your issue. So if you can engage with us, share the facts, come prepared with notes, a checklist, do some homework ahead of time. I can't tell you how many times I've had somebody come in and give me their tale of woe, and I said, are there any documents? Oh, there's one here. Did you send out anything in email? Oh, maybe I did. I want to see copies of that stuff. So the best clients come in are the ones that have their documents together, they're organized. I've had them come in with notebooks, tables of contents. Some are not that necessary, but an organized client, you're going to get much better service, and it's going to cost you a lot less. Why don't we as a society like attorneys? Cost? We've got a bad reputation, right? We do. But there's a saying out there that the only good attorney is my attorney. Everybody else is bad. So you want to find one that you can feel very comfortable with. Now, I encourage you to interview. Whether it's 1, 2, 3, or more, take your time. You can do the interviews over the phone. You can do them in person. If the attorney won't talk to you over the phone, there's a clue. Okay, the statement the gentleman made was, okay, I interviewed 3, or I tried to. I got through to 1 of the 3. Otherwise, I got the person who answered the phone, and you don't know whether that was a receptionist, a paralegal, the custodian who happened to drop by at the moment. So you talk to 1 attorney, and the other comment was, I found that there was a real difference in pricing. I have some slides tonight about pricing, so if you don't mind, I'll put that on the shelf and we'll talk about pricing in a minute. You have every right to insist on you want to talk to an attorney. Schedule a time. If they can't get to you right then, when's a time I can call and I want to talk to that person directly? And it's helpful if you say, I have a real estate issue. So if they're a larger firm like we are, then the person taking the call, okay, our real estate attorney, we'll get the Outlook calendar, we'll look at the time, they're available, we'll put it on the calendar, we'll schedule the call at such and such time. If you can't get that kind of service, it's a clue. Because that type of service is available. I know because we provide it. And so if that's what you want in a level of service, you can get there. Attorneys, in most cases, provide an initial free consultation. We'll give you X amount of time at no charge to learn about your problem and tell you whether we think we can help you or we need to send you someplace else. If you're getting a quality individual, they're going to be honest with you. This is in my wheelhouse. This is not, but I have somebody else in the firm who can do this, or our firm doesn't do it. So when you're doing the interview, one of the things you want to find out is how much experience do they have in a particular area. If you're talking about estate planning, how many wills, how many trusts, how long have they been doing it? If you're talking about a probate after somebody dies and you have to probate the estate, how much experience do they have in it? Any of us should be willing to tell you, well, I've been doing this 1 year, 5 years, 25 years. Should be an easy question to find out. And then a key question, I think, is how busy are they? I've got an issue. I would like to address this within the next fill in the blank month, 1 day, 6 months. Is this something that you can devote time and attention to, or you have somebody in your firm that can do it within this time frame? The question is even if it's a paralegal to hand it off to. Now, you must have read my slides ahead of time, because I have a slide on paralegals. So either you and I are really in tune about what you want to know tonight. Okay, he mentioned again he had talked to an office, and am I okay with using the resources of paralegal? Absolutely. We have them, we use them, and what do they do for you? They do the routine, the more tedious, the more mundane things at a substantially lower cost. They're also often more readily available. So if the attorney uses a paralegal, they should introduce you to the paralegal. You should be able to get a hold of that person, and when you really want to talk to the attorney and pay the higher fee, you'll have an efficient use of your time. And that's what we talk about in the next is what are your expectations? I don't know when you come into the office what you're expecting, but I should be asking, when would you like this? Who else would you like involved? When would you like to hear back from me? What kind of information will make this relationship work for both of us? Because we don't want a dissatisfied client. Most of our business comes from referrals, people talking about us in the community. And if we have somebody go away and they're very dissatisfied because of fees, because we got a bad result, we didn't win the case, that doesn't help us. So ideally, we're looking to create a positive relationship. We can't win every case. We don't win every case. But we should be giving you our A game each and every time. Okay, the question was, if you've hired an attorney and you come to a hearing and the presentation in the hearing, your attorney seems to be siding with the other side more than he's siding with you, he or she is siding with you. What can we do about it? Well, you should have had a frank discussion before the hearing. They should have told you where the law is, because sometimes the law may not be on your side. You may feel wronged. You may feel it's not just or it's not right, but that's not where the law is. And anybody worth their salt ought to be telling you that ahead of time. We'll give it our best shot, but we may not get there. If you don't like how they're doing it, after they get done, you should have a discussion why. And if that why doesn't sound right to you, that's a clue. You should be looking at a different attorney. Just because you hire an attorney, you can fire us just like you hired us. You don't have to stay with. Now, if you're in a court case, sometimes we can't get out because there's just too much invested, not on our time, but the court won't let us out because they expect us to continue through to a certain point. So that again is going to be one of those, it depends more on the facts of the situation. But it's unfortunate that you felt your attorney was not an advocate. The ethics rules say that we as attorneys should be zealous advocates. So that means we should tell you what the law is. We should try to make the best possible case for you within the confines of the law. And if we still can't win, that's going to be it. And if you're dissatisfied, sometimes we'll say we're sorry. But at the end of the day, hopefully we've given, whoever you hire has given it the best shot they could and explained to you why they couldn't get the result that you'd hoped they would get. Communication is key, promptness. I have a technique that the other attorneys in our firm make fun of me. When I deal with clients, I have a personal internal clock that I get back to every client who contacts me by email, by text, by phone within 24 hours. And in our firm, they call it gill time, because not everybody gets back to their clients on gill time. But I do. My wife will tell you how many times we have traveled in all parts of the world where I take my iPad and I'm getting back to clients. Even though I have on my out of office, I may not get back to you. I still get back to clients because I believe in that kind of customer service. And you can expect it. And if you're not going to get that, at least talk with your attorney when they might get back to you. Because promptness is a key. One of the single largest malpractice claims against attorneys is failure to communicate and return calls from clients. That is just one of the biggest complaints that customers like you make about attorneys like us. Then start learning a little about the terminology. We use all sorts of fancy, Latin-based, legalistic words. I've given you, there's an app out there for those of you that have the smartphones or have a computer called NOLO's Plain Language Law Dictionary. It helps translate all that for you. So do a little, if you're coming across words that seem foreign to you or different, you don't understand them in the context that they're given, do a little Webster's Dictionary research with the NOLO English Law Dictionary. Okay, we put on the shelf payment arrangement, so we're going to come to that and talk about it now. There are primarily three basic approaches to payments. Now there are derivations from each of these three, but there are three, and I'm going to focus on the three unless you have specific questions. Most of us do our work based on hourly rate. In the larger firms, that's usually in 6/10 of an hour. So if you send me an email and you ask me the status of your case, and I respond to you, that's going to cost you a 1/10 of an hour or 6 minutes. Now, there are some firms, smaller firms and solo practitioners, and there are great solo practitioners in this community and many communities throughout will charge in quarter hour or half hour or 1 hour increments. What you want to find out is how does your attorney charge if you're being charged on an hourly rate basis. Knowledge is power, and you want to have power and you want to have balance in your relationship with an attorney. Another type of arrangement is called contingent fee. So this is when somebody goes out, and I'll just use one of many examples, and they get injured in an automobile accident. It's called personal injury. And you walk into an attorney and I've had my leg broken, I've had my collarbone broken, somebody has been seriously injured, killed, property damage, whatever. A lot of attorneys will take personal injury cases on contingent fee. And what that means, we'll pursue it, and if we win, We get a percentage of that win. The percentages are all over the ballpark. They range on the low end to about 20% of the win, and on the high end to as much as 50 or more percent if they take your case all the way to the Washington Supreme Court or the U.S. Supreme Court. The higher you go in the system, the more the risk, the more the return that they're going to want. You should know about this all the way through the process. So there's all types of contingent fees. If the attorney does not win, they get zero, except for what we call our cost. What's a cost? If I have to make a Xerox copy for you, if I have to send a FedEx package, if I have to go out and hire an expert to give medical testimony, that's a cost. You're going to pay for cost. You pay zero in attorney's fees on a contingent fee arrangement where the attorney does not prevail. That's the standard contingent fee arrangement. The third category is fixed fee. Fixed fee is where you negotiate ahead of time. Here's how much it's going to cost me to do this. You want an estate plan put together. We sit down and we talk to you about the value of your estate, what your goals are, whether you need a trust, what other documents you need. We quote you, we will do all of that for $500, $750, $1,000. You know ahead of time. You're not going to get charged for every email, every text message, every phone call. You're paying for a package. And those arrangements are available. And it's all negotiable. You come into the attorney's office, oftentimes people don't know much about this. They're, quite frankly, intimidated by the process. The attorney puts out the engagement letter in front of them, and they don't understand it. They walk away after signing it, and they still don't understand it. But it's all negotiable. If it's going to be contingent fee and the attorney says, I want a third, you certainly can say, will you take 20%? And what do you lose by asking? You might save some money. You might improve your position. The question was, when I was interviewing the firms, I had two come up to me and offer me hourly rates, and one is a fixed fee. How do I compare apples to apples? If you're doing hourly, after you give them your situation, I would be asking, how long do you think it would take? I would multiply hours times hourly rate and compare it to what the fixed fee would be, and which one is higher and lower based on the estimate the attorney gives you of the amount of time it will take. The question is, in the engagement letter, is there a disclaimer that it might take more time? Yes. You know why? Because you don't tell us all the facts ahead of time. And it's different, and it changes over time. But what should happen is we should tell you, okay, now that you've told us that, it's going to take this much more work. Do you want us to do this much more work? And you should be making the decision of whether you want it to continue. There should be no surprises. If you've been honest with us and you've given us the facts, and we have made a reasoned assessment of your situation, there should be no real surprise. Why don't people like attorneys? They get surprised. Part of the reason they get surprised, they don't feel comfortable asking all the questions. Then talk about frequency of billing. How often are you going to get billed? Are they going to bill you at the end of the work? They're going to bill you monthly or some other arrangement. We typically do most of our work on hourly rate or fixed fee. We bill monthly unless the client asks for it more frequently. I had a client come in this week to seek advice. They met with me for 7/10 of an hour and said, how much do I owe you? They wanted to pay it right there. So we figured out the amount, they wrote the check, and we were done. Perfectly permissible. Every ethical engagement with an attorney should have some form of engagement letter. Some are more sophisticated than others, but we should be providing you with an engagement letter that sets out the terms and conditions. sets out when we're going to do the work, how much the rates are going to be for the work, that you can fire us if you don't like us, if we're going to put money in a retainer or trust account and what the obligations are for the retainer or trust account, and frequency and expectation of any benchmarks or timelines. Those are the basics of an engagement letter, and they vary. Even within our firm, we probably have 5 or 6 different templates depending on the type of work we're doing. So there's no right engagement letter. Read the engagement letter. If you don't understand it, ask questions. But don't sign it until you're comfortable. Even if that means you have to take it, go home, look up in the NOLO, plain English law library, some of the words, because you feel that, and you really don't want to ask that right now. But wait till you are comfortable that you understand it, and then sign it. A lot of times, attorneys will ask for retainers. There's 2 types of retainers. There is a refundable retainer, and there's a non-refundable retainer. So if you're asked to put a retainer up, find out which category it fits in. We had a young lady that, not us, was related to a family member of one of the attorneys in our firm, and had a criminal harassment matter. Went to the attorney said, it's going to take, this is going to cost you $6,000 for me to help you. Had a big reputation, good reputation. The lady hired her, paid the $6,000. The attorney wrote 1 letter, solved the matter. It was non-refundable. So make sure you know what you're getting into ahead of time. And it seems like a lot to pay for that 1 letter, but had it not solved it, it could have been in court for a long time. They could have, been a lot more consequences. So just, again, knowledge is power. Make sure you're comfortable. You should have itemized statements you can request. Some places write down, met with clients. I tend to write down, met with clients to discuss such and such. And I tend to put how much time that discussion. Email with clients, text message with client on X. You're entitled to that if that's what you want. Some attorney firms will tell you our software isn't set up to do it. You have to make a decision. Are you okay with that? But it should be your decision. Set a budget. Determine what you're willing to spend to get to whichever point you want. You're doing a real estate transaction. Do you want a buy-sell agreement? You want a real estate contract? How much are you willing to pay for that? You want a set of estate planning documents, whatever. How much are you willing to pay? Are there any costs? Copying fees, FedEx documents. We have, I can't tell you how many times on December 26th, before the end of the year, we have people that they're going to go on the trip to Europe or South America, and they want all their estate planning documents done before they leave on January 1st. Well, we have a lot of clients that want that. So we need to fit that in with what your needs are. So a little pre-planning on if you see something coming down the pike, lead time is wonderful. We can do it in crunch time, but lead time is very helpful. And then how much time should an attorney, how much work should they do before you hear from them? You give them a project, I want this. If it's not on Gil time, whose time is it on? And when can you expect to hear from that attorney? And if you don't hear, don't wait. You should be calling the attorney or the paralegal and said, we agreed that I would hear back by here. I haven't heard anything. What's going on? Okay, and repeating frequency of contact, method of contact. You know, I've gotten really comfortable, despite my white hair, with text messages. Other people aren't comfortable with text messages. Some people still want to do paper documents and letters. They don't even do email. So what's the method? A letter is going to cost you more because it's going to take me longer to do than if I text a response back to you. So the methodology comes with a cost. And then how does the attorney want to hear from you? You know, this is a two-way street. What's the relationship like? So as we wrap up this presentation, key points to remember is stay in contact, consider the length and frequency of your messages. We get clients who are they want to know something every day. It comes with a cost because you're interrupting other work we're doing for other clients. Be prepared. What kind of questions are we going to ask you? What do we want to know about your situation? You know, we can go on the internet and we can Google it. You know, how much should it cost me to complete a real estate contract? And you'll get pages of opinions. But if you read a half a dozen of them, you're going to come into a range. And you're going to have some sense ahead of time of what a reasonable range is. Same on estate planning documents. If you're going to message the attorney, clarity, we don't need the venting, the frustrations. Sally told Sam, you know, I want, you know, domestic relations, well, I want this pot, he wants this pan. We don't need the details. Do we get it? Oh, yes. It comes with a cost. But so the more, the briefer you can be, the clearer you can be, the more direct you can be, politely, professionally, the better the relationship can be, a long-term professional relationship. Be patient. Just like when you go into Les Schwab or that, the first day that snow falls, there are points in time where we're just slam busy. And there are points in time where it's more moderate. So get an understanding of that and have some degree of patience unless you have a true urgent need. If you've got a true urgent need, we'll deal with it. Keep track of your progress. We've already talked about expectations, benchmarks, and schedules. Your earlier question about legal assistants and paralegals, use them. We have confidence in them. They're going to save you time and money or they wouldn't be part of our team. Now, you aren't going to get the legal advice from them. You shouldn't expect legal advice, but they certainly can keep you up on more routine, more mundane aspects of what's going on. A good legal assistant, you're going to spend more time than you are with an efficient attorney, just because they connect with you well. We talked about other types of costs. These are some examples. Then, manage your attorney, just like you would any other professional relationship. We've talked about each one of these. Ask if there's anything you can do. Is there any client homework you can do to make it easier? Do you need legal descriptions? Can you get them ahead of time if you're doing really estate planning? Give us a list of your assets or the relative value. Give us a list of names of the people you want the assets distributed to. Have you decided if you want a living will? Do you want to be resuscitated or not resuscitated? Have thought about some of these ahead of time. And again, you can get there by going on the internet and Googling, what should I ask my attorney if I'm going in to do X? There's a lot of that information out there that can substantially reduce your time and your cost with an attorney. Be a good client. We love good clients. Good clients like good attorneys. And it's a working relationship. So is the attorney's experience compatible with your legal needs? Is the attorney prompt, courteous? Do they listen and communicate respectfully? Do you feel engaged? Do you feel that you've been heard? Do you feel you're getting good, solid information? Because what are you going to do? You walk out of the attorney's office, you're going to go on Facebook or some other social media. I met with my attorney, and my attorney told me this. And then everybody's going to give you an opinion of whether they thought you good or bad advice. So we understand it happens. We do it ourselves. So just find somebody you can work with, good bedside manner. That's one of the things I think is critically important. And I will conclude with, be honest. It is so frustrating when somebody comes to us, gives us a situation, and we try to pull it out. We're like the dentist extracting a root canal. We try to pull the information out of you. But sometimes we don't get told everything. And then lo and behold, we're going down this road, and all of a sudden, whoever's on the other side of the transaction, oh, by the way, did you realize? And no, we didn't. And we go to the client, what about this? Oh, I forgot that. Or I was too embarrassed. The attorney-client relationship. Think of it this way. You talk to me as an attorney. That information, I write it down, I wrap it up, I put it in an envelope, I seal the envelope. It's confidential. It goes no place else. So I don't care how embarrassing, how hurtful. I'm going to do a much better job for you if I know all the bad facts along with all the good facts. Because then I can find a way to deal with them. Hate surprises. And they don't help you. And then I get a bad result for you and you get upset. Doesn't help in the long run. So share all the facts. Don't withhold information. Don't be intimidated. You're the client. We work for you. We're just like you going out and hiring the plumber, the roofer. We are a service provider. We work for you. And continue to ask questions till you're satisfied with the answers. Thank you. That concludes my presentation.